What's up, folks? So I sat down today and I was going to do a pilot breakdown, a little bit of understanding the meta of pilots and upgrades, but instead we got some big news today about organized play in the Atomic Mass games and all of their Star Wars games. Yeah, so we're just going to break this down. We're going to go through kind of a good, the bad, and the ugly here, just to talk through it, what it means, what it may imply for the future. Go from there. So long story short, what this announcement means, and I'll have the links to both of these in the description of the video, is that they are doing away with the current Worlds structure. So the tournaments that get you invitations to the World Championship that then culminate in the actual Adepticon Worlds Championship for all of these games is going away. More on that in a minute. And the reason why is because they talk about the dramatic cost and human resources involved in actually setting up something like Worlds, and that it takes a lot of attention and money away from doing more that they'd like to do. And they specifically mentioned that it is a little bit exclusive, which I get. So they're spending a huge amount of resources on one event in one specific place in one specific country, and that takes away from support they could give, like significant prize support, significant tournament support to communities across the world. This is an international company, it's an international game, we have an international community. There's a lot of incentive here, a lot of reason to spread this out, to do like genuinely great prize packets, prize support for events across the world, have more bigger events year round in different places. And if that means sacrificing Worlds, I get how they made that decision. I get it. So there's kind of the good. We'll start there. And then we'll get around a little bit. The bad is this does do away with Worlds. It does, near as we can tell, this will get rid of the Worlds Championship as a global world championship. Yeah, that's as far as we know. I'm sure that this was just to troll the America's contingent that were saying that we would take back the Worlds title from, or the World Champion title from Europe at some point. So this does make Illy, right? This does mean that Illy will indefinitely be the named world champion, and the German XTC team can hold the trophy indefinitely here. So good job, guys. Yeah, so big dramatic win there. Yeah, and then here's where we get to the ugly. So one thing that I find deeply frustrating about this is that this is really, really big. This is a lot of text. It does a lot of really cool stuff to explain kind of like, here's the background, different communities, countries that couldn't travel as much, places where their local tournament scene was very quiet, where they really would have liked to host like large premier events, couldn't, and AMG didn't have the resources or the time or the manpower to support them. I get it. Especially because we're not talking just about X-Wing either. We're talking about all of their games, all of these Star Wars games, and also MCP. So, and that's a totally fair point. That is a lot of events to prep for from one organizer in one place. So to be able to spread that out to the most motivated communities around the world and have them host the events, bring in local players, bring in local community players, and really kind of share that excitement, and actually provide an opportunity for regional travel as well. So now if there's a bigger GT in, France, you could pop over from the UK to go ahead and play there. And I know there are already larger tournaments in that area, but definitely not as many as there used to be, and this should help bring that back. I'm thinking about communities like the Lima player base that did the Lima Open. We've had some really, really awesome communities set up really big events, and it's really cool to see the option or the opportunity for them to do more of that with more direct prize support, more official support from AMG. That is cool. But the ugly, the part that I find deeply frustrating, is there is nothing in here whatsoever that actually says that Worlds is not happening. There is nothing in here that says that Atomic Mass Games will no longer personally host any events. There is nothing in here to say that Atomic Mass Games will not be running competitive play directly at Adepticon. And now the door is open here for someone to apply, a local TO to apply to run a GT at Adepticon. I imagine that's going to happen. I would be surprised if it didn't. But I'm very frustrated that that's not explicitly said in here. All we need is a different paragraph that just said, we will not be running the World Championship the way that we're familiar with running it. Instead, it is up to a local community member or tournament organizer to apply and run the events there. I could see why they maybe wouldn't want to say that, but that is one of those places that really does leave a lot open to interpretation. And that's one of the most frustrating things about all of this communication, is there's a very clear implication there's a major change and it's not addressing the one single like elephant in the room. This is all about worlds. What is actually happening with worlds? It doesn't say that. This entire paragraph right here is kind of the key part of that. We're like, the resources previously, cost of sending one player to worlds, aspiration of winning worlds. I mean, all this stuff about worlds, like it's mentioned so many times and never once actually explicitly stated what is happening with worlds. We can read into this and infer really heavily, but that is a big, giant, glaring question that feels like a very obvious omission in this statement. And that is one of the really frustrating things about this communication in general. There may be reasons for that vagary. I don't know. I don't know why. But it's a little bit hard to kind of be left in limbo on that. I'm sure we'll get clarification at some point soon, but it still is. I found that deeply frustrating and vented a little bit in the Discord earlier today in the X-Wing wish list, just wishing that there was clarity on that specific point, because that is the one thing that's not expressly stated here. Anyway, long story short, this probably is going to be a positive change for the global community, which is awesome. It's probably going to be a positive change for overall year-round prize support, which is also awesome. It is almost guaranteed to mean that we will not have an officially supported World Championship, which is not awesome. But there's still a very strong chance, and the door is open here for an Adepticon World-style event to still happen. And I think enough people really like doing that, and it's a kind of consensus place for some of the most experienced players in the world to kind of meet up to do that. So it could still be the annual event that happens. We just don't know. And AMG may not know either. They may be hoping for something and not wanting to say it outright. I don't know. But yeah, so we'll see what happens. But silver lining here, one of the things that actually makes me most positive about this is that this does mean that they are fully making plans for what they're going to do and explicitly mention prize support moving into early 2025. So we have more than a year out here looking at what the plan for all of these games is, which does fit into the roadmaps previously for these products, which does make it more likely that we're going to get more official announcements on X-Wing. Let me check. And Armada. There's official prize support, official tournament regulations, official international global tournament plans for Armada and X-Wing. That I find very promising, and I am hoping that this was put together in this way, with this timing, to be the dry, whatever, kind of important but not fun announcement to put out first, and then we should see more announcements on each of these different product lines coming up soon. I'm still hoping for my X-Wing announcements. I'm still generally optimistic. So yeah, I wanted to highlight the head-scratching part, highlight kind of the reasoning, highlight the change, and then sort of end on that positive note, where this, to me, feels like the prelude to the fun announcements that are coming soon. Right? We'll see. Anyway, that's it. Hopefully this was fun. Let me know what you think about the changes. And yeah, until next time.